back with more Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is episode 9 of season 2. Very excited as always to see what's going to be happening next. Last episode we had a big confrontation with Azula, a very, very brief team up with Team Avatar, plus Zuko, plus Iroh. Then Iroh got injured and shenanigans all ensued once more. So I don't know exactly what's going to be happening next, who we're going to be focusing on, but at least for now, Zuko and Iroh are seemingly reunited, which I'm quite happy about and excited to see if we explore that, or are we going to, maybe continue on and see what Team Avatar are doing next now that they're off on new adventures, I would assume. Or maybe we focus on both. Who can say? But regardless, I'm loving what this season is doing, so I'm just happy to sit and enjoy the ride, basically. So let's get into the next one.
I'm finally starting earthbending. And this place, it's perfect. Don't you think? Sokka? Oh, you're still sleeping, huh?
Oh my god. He's just trying to get some sleep.
I'm ready.
Ooh.
Rock beats Airbender.
I like that he's in his sleeping bag.
I got you, Dad.
Oh. Aww. That's his son.
You were unconscious.
Aww.
Azula did this.
Always on his mind.
I know what you're gonna say. She's my sister and I should be trying to get along with her.
No, she's crazy. She needs to go down.
Yeah, she's terrible.
It's time to resume your training.
I don't understand
Nice.
what went wrong. He did it exactly the way
Aang and Zuko starting training in the same episode, linking it again.
You've got to face it head on. And when I say head on, I mean like this. If he's doing something wrong, maybe a gentle nudge in the right direction. Thanks, Katara. A gentle nudge. I'll try that.
She will not. Well. Oh, jeez. Oh, I felt that in my soul. Damn. That's something, right? Hooray!
Gotcha!
Oh. Oh dear.
Some call lightning the cold-blooded fire. It is precise and deadly.
Sounds about right.
To perform the technique requires peace of mind.
That's why we're drinking tea. To calm the mind.
Oh yeah, good point. I mean...
He just likes tea.
there-
That's so cool. Yeah. I don't know if he's calm and at peace enough to do it yet. So Azula's just so comfortable being a bitch that she can just do it. I mean, that's one way.
If you're not tough enough to stop the rock, then you can at least get the pleasure of smushing you instead of jumping out of the way like a jelly-boned wimp.
Damn.
Now, yeah, whatever. Go splash around until you feel better.
I mean, some of the fault has to be at the teacher as well, I think.
Why can't I do it?
You will not be able to master lightning until you have dealt with the turmoil inside you.
What turmoil?
Cool.
I
don't think we have enough seasons for that.
Shame if you want your anger to go away. I will teach you a firebending move that even Azula doesn't know, because I made it up myself.
Oh, that's fun. I like, here's like an alternate option. Oh yeah, meanwhile.
You probably think I deserve this, don't you?
Oh, that's adorable.
Hey, looks like my karma's already paying off.
Oh.
That's okay, I got it.
It just sat there.
If fire and water are opposites, then what's the opposite of air? I guess it's earth. That's why it's so hard for you to get this. You're working with your natural opposite, but you'll figure it out.
I did think when he jumped out of the way of the boulder, it's like, oh, that's a very Airbender way of getting out of it, isn't it?
Master. Thanks, Katara. Sifu, Katara.
It is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If you take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale.
Yeah, limits how much you can really know then, doesn't it? And how much you can do.
The technique I am about to teach you is one I learned by studying the waterbenders.
Oh, I like that. We're talking, like, again, what elements complement each other, like from a few episodes back.
Actually, I prefer if you didn't. That's an antique, handcrafted by the boss.
Oh dear.
Delicate instrument. It's not the only delicate instrument around here.
I'm not a fan of her teaching methods, I must say.
If I can just get out of this situation alive, I will give up meat and sarcasm. Okay? Ow! That's all I got. It's pretty much my whole identity. Sokka, the meat and sarcasm guy.
That's
but I'm willing to be Sokka.
literally me.
You're gonna pull my fingers off, and I don't think
you're gonna have to do some good earth bending to get him out.
It would just be really uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable? Well, I wouldn't want you to feel uncomfortable.
It puts me in a really awkward position.
Awkward position. I think I know the feeling.
If I tried, I think
He couldn't give up sarcasm if he tried.
What you doing out here, little guy? Did you lose your mama?
Oh! Oh dear. Found her!
You can teach me to redirect lightning?
Yeah, we saw him do that, didn't we?
Own body flow. The stomach is the source of energy in your body. It is called the Sea of Chi. Only in my case, it is more like a vast ocean. Excellent. You've got it.
Great. I'm ready to try with real lightning.
What, are you crazy? Lightning is very dangerous.
He doesn't want to kill you.
That was the point. I'll find my own lightning.
Oh, he's so desperate to prove himself. Ah,
We found your cub.
you got it. Well, fine.
What are you doing here?
Just enjoying the show. What?
Oh my god.
There the whole time? Pretty much. Do it now. What? Earthbend, Twinkle Toes. You just stood your ground against a crazy beast.
Yeah.
And even more impressive, you stood your ground against me.
Yeah, she's been trying to goad him, I think.
But do it!
But I also don't like the idea that this is validating her treatment of him.
You did it! You should probably let me do that. You're still a little new to this. You might accidentally crush him.
Yeah, no crushing, please.
She wouldn't have even wanted him to do it anyway, and she still didn't get him out. Wow. Oh god.
You've thrown everything you could at me. Well, I can take it, and now I can give it back. Come on, strike me.
This is really sad. He just assumes the world hates him. Aww. He just wants that chance to prove his worth, but he doesn't need to. Oh my god. Pain. Pain! Okay, another really great episode. I love the continuing thing that the show always does quite often with paralleling Aang and Zuko's stories. So they're both kind of struggling with facing their issues head on, or the insecurities around that, their self-doubt, whether they're very honest about it like Aang is, or just putting on a brave face over it like Zuko does. So there's still like a bit of a contrast there, but just the idea of like shame and what that can do to you. Zuko not believing he really has any, because he thinks, you know, like a few episodes back when he just kind of like, this is who I am, and then all the people kind of turned on him straight away. He's like pretending that probably didn't really affect him or anything. Whereas Iroh is literally like the finally inner peace meme. That is literally Iroh, and I respect that. And then Aang kind of found a bit of shame in that he wasn't being able to master the earthbending as quickly as he would have liked. And yeah, just that kind of parallel, them both facing similar things and both getting some teachings in the same episode. I just like that they link those two so often, so I just find that really interesting. And I think that's always what makes it inevitable to me, that, you know, I think the core of the show will come down to those two, I think, when all is said and done, perhaps. But I love that they continue to link those two characters, essentially. Let's talk about the Zuko and Iroh stuff first, I suppose. Get that done with. I really like that they are kind of together again, and Iroh initially trying to teach him lightning, like making it, which is really cool, because I find that so bloody awesome, like doing the lightning and stuff. And we'd seen in previous episodes, I think, him like channeling it, channeling it, and like moving it away. He might have done it more than once. I definitely remember him. I think he redirected something Azula sent at him once, I think, but I feel like he may have done it more than that. I can't quite remember. But to actually see him then like make the lightning himself in this one, just showing the utter control he has, especially because he's just been injured and he can still do all that. And he's not really being like necessarily, oh, you know, let's get revenge on Azula for her doing this to me. He did sort of say, you know, she needs to be taken down and stuff, but he's not actively trying to do that right now. His focus was still on Zuko, because he's clearly mastered finding that peace within himself. And, you know, he will just take the piss out of himself every chance he gets. And that's why he's so at, you know, that peace with himself. He's so tranquil. He can kind of generate lightning. I like that they were exploring how, you know, that happens, and that's how it works. Because I think that makes it an interesting commentary on Azula as well. Like, she's an awful, awful human being. She's a terrible, terrible person. But she's so comfortable with being a terrible person that she can do lightning. So that, I think that just shows how perhaps irredeemable she is, and just how goddamn awful she is as a person. Which makes her an interesting character, especially when compared to like Zuko or Aang, you know, other kind of people who you know, have powers and stuff. But I like that even when she's not in an episode, they can still provide some commentary on her character by people that she's related to, and the whole lightning idea. So that was really interesting. I liked that a lot. And I mean, the fact that Iroh has taught Zuko that move, and he was like, well, if you're lucky, you'll never have to use it. This show has gone out of its way to show how unlucky Zuko is in every aspect of his life. So he's going to use that at some point. I think that will be the moment he finally gets the upper hand over Azula. He'll like channel her lightning away, and she'll be like, that blinking man meme. She's like, she'll do that. I assume it'll be exactly that. And I will punch the air the day that happens. That'd be really cool. So I like that there's probably some setup with this as well. Because right now Zuko feels a bit lost and directionless, a bit hopeless, because he couldn't channel the lightning, because he's just not honest about his inner turmoil. But he did show, I think, that honesty and that frustration in that very last bit of the episode where he just broke down and cried, because even the storm wasn't giving him what he wanted. Even just some bloody weather wasn't behaving the way he wanted. And the fact that he's like, you know, life doesn't normally hold back against me. He's had to face so much, but the one time he actually wants to face something, it doesn't give it to him. I just find that so bloody sad. That he just like broke down and cried at the end. Has he? I feel like he has cried before, maybe. I mean, I don't think we get characters crying that often on the show, but I think it's always quite impactful when they do, especially because it's, you know, it would have been a show airing on Nickelodeon and stuff. It would have been aimed at kids mostly. So I guess that's maybe why we often don't get characters bursting into tears all the time. But I think it's such a poignant moment for Zuko there. Maybe some kind of acceptance. He's like, yeah, I do need to work on myself a lot more. But I think right now it's just his frustration and anger and anguish at how his life's gone, how he's been treated, how the world is treating him in response. All the decisions that he's made or other people have made for him that have gotten into this spot. He's in a quite the crappy situation. So I guess it is kind of healthy that he will let it out at some point. So it's good that he's not always holding that in constantly. Because because if he did that, that's going to build up the tension more and more, and of course he's never going to be able to do the lightning or anything. And I like that Iroh recognised that that is the issue with Zuko and his inner turmoil. He even said, I feared this would be how it went. So he had his suspicions that Zuko wasn't going to be able to do it, but he then redirected it into something positive anyway, because there was like, I've got something else I can teach you instead that the Zula doesn't know. So he still had some backup options, and I like that. He's very aware of where Zuko's limits may sometimes lie and what he needs to work on and everything. So I just love that dynamic so much, and the calmness and the acceptance that Iroh has of himself versus Zuko's just lack of a place and complete inner turmoil. Like, that guy is fucked up. I just find that really interesting, and that's what makes them such a fascinating pair, I think, because however different they may be, and we've seen, Zuko doesn't necessarily just get on with people because they're his blood, because him and his sister, not biggest fans of each other. I don't think he's a particularly big fan of his father, and probably vice versa as well. So it's not like he feels necessarily bound by blood to get on with people in his family. So the fact that he still has this nice relationship with Iroh, I actually find quite wholesome and lovely, really. So yeah, I think there is maybe some start of some acceptance there, or just there is a self-awareness in Zuko of his troubles and his turmoil, and hopefully that's something he will be able to work on and work through. But I think it'll be like a big step, much like Aang in this episode when he finally did the earthbending move that he wanted to do all episode. That was such a huge relief and release for him. I think maybe when Zuko finally gets to like channel some lightning or something, that's going to be his big moment. But he's so desperate to prove himself and so desperate to show the world that, he is something and someone that's worth it. He's like throwing himself into danger, like going to find some bloody lightning just so he can prove that I can channel it, Iroh's fully aware that I think he has the capability to do it. He just doesn't want to throw lightning at his nephew, which I think is pretty fair. But yeah, Zuko's not in the best way, I think, mentally right now. But I guess that's going to be the arc, isn't it, really? They really beat Zuko down, that's for sure. We get a lot of that with poor Zuko. But that will then lead to, hopefully, a really great character arc for him during the rest of the show. Like, I wish so much happiness for him at the end of the show, and I'm going to be devastated if they don't do it. I mean, they could easily probably kill him, like do the whole he redeems himself by sacrificing himself for someone or something. I hope they don't do that. I hate that. So we'll see. But I'm really rooting for a happy ending for him. But yeah, right now, he's got a lot going on, a lot of emotional baggage there, a lot of stuff that's happened to him and kind of scarred him, literally or metaphorically. Some of it has been his own doing and his fault. Some of it is his awful upbringing, really. But I'm glad he does have someone like Iroh who's on his side, for sure. Even the weather's not against him, he does have someone, and I think that spark of hope is going to be enough to see him through, fingers crossed. So I loved everything with them and learning their techniques and stuff. And yeah, just the idea of like facing their issues head on and the shame that comes with maybe failing that at times. And like, that was a big thing in this episode, both with Zuko and Aang. And I liked finally getting some like earthbending stuff with him and Toph starting the training. And I did like Katara kind of being almost a voice for reason, because she's been teaching Aang waterbending. She knows what teachings do work for him, but that's just not what Toph's about. I feel like she's so used to being restricted, Toph, in her life, and everyone was kind of looking down on her, treating her like, with kid gloves and stuff. I think she just enjoys being like, well, I'm going to be the powerful one. I'm going to be the one stirring up some shit if I need to. And, it was definitely tough love, I think, when it came to her teaching methods, to put it bluntly. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like, to an extent, I get what she was going for at the end, when she was just goading Aang to kind of get him into that mindset where he could master the earthbending, and maybe she formulated that once he kind of had the airbender's way out of that rock initially and just jumped over it instead of trying to like push it or whatever. But I'm not a big fan that it invalidated her just being horrible to him for the entire episode, because he did it in the end. I was kind of hoping when Katara would talk to her, she would slowly realise, oh, maybe I do need to be a bit more, have some positive reinforcement and stuff, because that's clearly worked with Aang before. And even that scene when Katara and Aang are doing a bit of water bending and she's just convincing him, like, of course you're going to struggle, because it's like the exact opposite element of the one that you already master. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And how this episode again talked about what elements would work well together and stuff. Iroh kind of had a bit of a conversation about that. I like how that's all kind of coming into play. And the elements that may not necessarily work as well. Like, if you're so used to being doing airbending and stuff, it's going to be hard to do earthbending. So I like that they were tackling that head on as well. And I'm glad that Aang did ultimately find a way to master it, and still a long way to go with it, I'm sure. But I like that we got some stepping stones. But Toph is just very, very brash, and I think some of that is just due, to a very enclosed upbringing where she was just looked down upon mostly and just treated to be so fragile. I think she just enjoyed the power that would come from being the teacher. But I wasn't big on her methods, and I do think it makes her come across badly for me. I'm not quite warming to her yet with that, but again, she may have a really nice character arc and I end up really enjoying her. Because I like how she like shifted the dynamic a bit, but I'm hoping that she herself isn't, closed off enough maybe, or she's not stubborn enough to not learn any lessons like the other characters do. So I do feel like even Zuko, he's very stubborn and he's made bad decisions and done bad things as well, but I do feel like since we first met him, he has made some good changes, and there is like a good caring side to him that we've seen. And we haven't had the chance to see that in Toph yet. So I'm not saying it's not there. I just feel like we're just waiting to see it, because I'm just like, I'm not quite like liking her yet. But maybe that's just her methods. And yeah, I'm not a fan that she kind of got the results in the end almost. And like, I feel like your teaching could do with some refinement, granted. But again, we've had her for 3 episodes or something like that? Because there was an episode that she wasn't in because it was the Zuko one. And at least I think they will develop her a bit, because her and Katara, they kind of got on well in this one, because they had a lot of fights in the last one. They kind of seemed to make a bit of an amends at the end, and I think this one there wasn't any fighting or anything between them really. Katara was very gentle in approaching her, saying, when I teach Aang I do this, blah blah blah. So I'm sure there will be some developments there, but I'm still just waiting to be like, oh yeah, I like Toph as a character. I like what she brings to the show. I don't necessarily like her quite yet, so I'm hoping for a bit more. And then I like how they set up Aang having to try the earthbending move and everything by getting Sokka stuck. Bless him. Get him stuck in that hole. He just gets himself in trouble, really, doesn't he, a bit, when he wanders off on his own. I mean, I don't blame him. Like, he just wanted some sleep. He wanted some rest. Like, they're probably still catching up on sleep from the last episode, or that they lost. And then that's again with Toph when she was like, oh, I'm going to send him into the bloody sky, like yeet him into the sky. Like, maybe just like shake him a bit. Don't go OTT with it. I think she just likes the power. And I was like, that's a bit much. Could have snapped his neck, but he didn't, thankfully. And the fact that she sat there and watched the whole thing play out with that, what was it? Like, weird beastie animal thing, the mother animal, and that baby animal, oh my god, that was an adorable little thing. If there's a plushie of that, I need to buy it. That was so sweet. But I like how they kind of explored karma with Sokka there, really, and just trying to hunt this poor innocent little thing. But that's also, I guess, if he needs to survive, it's the way of the world. But he could go vegetarian, I guess. I don't know if he will. He certainly won't drop the sarcasm, I'm sure. But I liked him getting into that little mess, forcing Aang's hand, really. But again, it's like Toph sat there, let it happen, and then was like, oh no, Aang, you shouldn't be doing this anyway, I'll get him out. Like, well, you should have got him out then, and just let Aang deal with the animal thing. So I found that a bit bizarre, that she was just going to let that play out, and then like, well, actually, no, I still need to do this. Little things like that, but I'm sure there'll be more development for it. But I like how that whole setup, again, provided a bit more comedy to the episode, because the stuff with Zuko, particularly at the end, got a bit deep and dark. So I like that, as often is the case with Sokka, he had some more light-hearted side story comedy to balance things out a bit. And yeah, it was a cool kind of setup for Aang to test his earthbending skills and everything and do what he needed to do. And yeah, he provides this classic sarcasm to go with it, the meat and sarcasm guy, as he said. That would be his Twitter bio, I'm sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed how that all played out as well. And my camera battery's about to die, so that's a sign that I've been talking for way too long. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this episode again. I thought it was fantastic. Love the kind of paralleling stuff, as they often do, with Aang and Zuko, just exploring the different themes with them, about facing things head on and some of your insecurities, stuff like that. The soccer side story tying into Aang's journey as well. I enjoyed Katara kind of guiding Aang along in her own gentle way, trying to talk to Toph about her methods, but Toph just having none of it. In a way, I really like that she takes no shit, but also I feel like she needs to take some shit at times. So yeah, still a bit of I think it's growing pains more so, I think, with Toph, because I get why she may be the way she is with her instructions and stuff, but it doesn't quite sit right with me, and the fact that it was justified, I'm a bit like her. But not every character is going to be, perfect and everything straight away, because episode 1 I was like, God, this Zuko guy, he's a bit mean, but then we learned so much more about him. I'm sure that's going to be the case again. So yeah, I'm enjoying the team dynamic to see where that all goes. I like that we're having some development with Aang's earthbending skills. That's going to be put into good use, I'm sure. Iroh continues to be like the greatest of all time. I love and adore him. And yeah, some really great stuff explored with this one. I look forward to seeing what they're going to be doing next time. But until my next reaction, thanks for watching.